Hey, Andrew here. Got something really exciting for you today. We've got two doctors talking about the OlyLife Tera P90 and how it can absolutely benefit you. I'll just pop that down. We've got Gary Smith and Cindy Hodgson from Essential Therapies. Thank you for her footage. Look her up on YouTube. They're going to discuss why it works, what it helps, and how to actually use it. So sit back and enjoy.
Thank you for joining the Essential Therapies podcast. Dr. Cindy Hodgson here. I'm a physical therapist, exercise physiologist, and this channel is about essential therapies. And I'm excited because I have a special guest here, Dr. Gary Smith, who is a chiropractor here in Toledo and many other things. And so I could go on, but we've been working together, helping each other out for a few years at least now. And give us just a little intro about just your incredible experience, because it's very vast and not your typical chiropractor by any means. So tell us about you.
Well, I've been in practice for 40 years, and during that 40 years I've kind of went into a more energetic vibrational type of medicine. Mm-hmm. So I do standard chiropractic, and I also do a lot of deep muscle release. I find that muscles are probably the source of a lot of people's pain as much as the misalignment of the spine is. And also we take in, I'm a hypnotherapist, so I approach the mental and emotional aspects of it also through my energetic medicine. Mm-hmm. So it's really a dynamic complex. I look at the body a little more than just a bunch of symptoms, but trying to get the body organized. It's really a giant stress reduction system. We're trying to reduce the stress to the body so the body can do what it's naturally designed to do, which is to come back into homeostasis.
Yes.
So it's really finding that point of homeostasis for people to function better in.
And I love that, because even the National Institute of Health has been saying for decades now that 85, well now they're saying 90% of all illnesses are related to stress. So if we can manage that system, which is a lot of what I teach my patients to do as well, and then the whole idea of the muscles, and I think as we started sharing ideas in that the muscles also are at the mercy of the fascia as well, right? Because the fascia decides where the muscles can be. So now we're talking about a completely new tool, right, to help with all of those things.
It's a dynamic tool in helping with this.
Yeah.
And again, that stress is related to lifestyle. Yeah. And a lot of our lifestyle is devoted to our coping with stresses.
Yeah, that's so
Stressful
true.
eating, poor eating habits. So it's really finding a pathway to health. And in that pathway of health, there's a lot of different avenues. And it's worth especially using conservative methods, trying conservative methods, and making a judgment on how that fits in. Is it really helpful? So you have to listen to your own body when you start applying these alternative methods.
Well, listening to our body is sometimes a tough thing to do, and that's a lot of what I try to educate, is that we're all out here in our left brain sometimes, and bringing our awareness in is tough sometimes. But
exactly.
All of that being said, what our talk about today is going to be focused on is in how we do all of these things. We have lots of different tools, right? Well, we've come across a new tool, new tool with some maybe older technology because of PEMF has been around for a while.
Right.
We're using PEMF and terahertz in this device called the Tera P90. I'm just going to lift it up here for those who are not watching the video. This is a small-ish white box with two silver platforms on it where you just put your feet on it. So this device is taking technology that is really kind of high-level technology and making it accessible and easy to use, like in your home. You know?
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk about this device. So it's the Terahertz P90 by OlyLife, and both of us are offering this in our practices and selling them as well for people to be able to have at home, because we were just having patients coming in and using it in-house, but they're like, how can I get one of these and use them every day? So we both have sources for you to be able to get one if after this you're interested. If you want to just try it out, you can also reach out and have some sessions of trying it. But what I wanted to have Dr. Gary talk about today is his view of the cells and how he feels this is helping our bodies and our physiology, and also really sharing your story, because I remember thinking, I really need to tell you about this. I was excited to share this with you when I first tried it, and I had no idea how you were going to respond, right? But I wanted your input because you understand the energy medicine and you've been working in this area for so long, and I was really going to value your opinion. I had no idea it was going to turn out this way. So share what happened.
Well, my opinion was, initially, Cindy asked me to come for a demonstration in her office. And so when I arrived, I was not impressed with the machine, just looking at it. To me, it was a plastic tub with a couple metal plates on it. I wasn't particularly impressed with the looks of it. I've been around for 40 years, and I've been exposed to different products that have been promised to me as being the next thing to sliced bread, and been disappointed a lot of times in this 40 years. This device, just looking at it, wasn't impressive. And so as I'm sitting there with my feet on the plates, getting my demonstration treatment, the gentleman who was administering the demonstration was telling me it was PEMF. No.
PEMF.
PEMF.
Yeah.
I tend to slur my words and my initials. 15, 20 years ago, I investigated PEMF devices to use in my clinic. And because I'd heard so much positive about them clinically being used, but the devices were in the $20,000 to $40,000 range, and it's way beyond my particular investment ranges. So even the consumer devices were $5,000 to $8,000. So again, a little more, and they were more bulky to use, more complicated to use, not really efficient for use in my practice. But he's telling me this is PEMF and something called terahertz, which I didn't know much about, and it certainly didn't match my expectations of a PEMF device. So I'm sitting there receiving my treatment, and after a 30-minute session, as I'm leaving Dr. Cindy's office, I noticed that my feet feel wonderful, like I'm walking on a cloud. Now, a little backstory to this: at the age of 2, I had polio. I was paralyzed from the waist down, and the muscles in my feet didn't grow properly, so I had hammer toes on all my toes, and they did a surgery called the Jones transplant where they cut the tendons on my muscles, allowed my foot to flatten out, and then move the tendons back further on the bone and so that my foot would be flat. And that resulted in, again, a weakness in lifting my foot. So I had that surgery when I was 10, and then when I was 26, I had basically the same surgery because my foot had grown. My 20s and 30s, I was in chronic pain, and I had bad days and worse days, particularly in my mid-30s. About the time I was graduating from chiropractic college, I was limping down the hallway. And one of my classmates asked me, Gary, why are you limping? And I said, am I? When you live with chronic pain, you just ignore it. You have things to do and people see, you just ignore it. So he had worked as a reflexologist for years, and so he offered to give me a treatment. The first half of his treatments were murderous.
Well, let's say what let's tell people what foot reflexology is, because they might not know.
Okay, thanks for pointing out. Foot reflexology is a deep muscle release, deep massage of your feet and or hands and ears. So it's
working on the reflexes of the feet.
Yeah, it's based on acupressure points. And it's very nice work. And so his reflexology, I started feeling better. So when I graduated, I got professional reflexology and massaged my legs. And within a few years, I was getting more, I had pain-free moments. And so a lot more adaptable and things like that. So, so here I am walking out like I had a really super good reflexology treatment. But I expect that to fade in a day and a half. After 4 days, I say, I have to have one of these. And I told my wife, I'm going to get one of these whether you like it or not. So for 10 days, my feet were like remarkably good. And I wouldn't even said my feet were bothering me prior to that.
Okay.
I guess I was living with a white noise of discomfort that I didn't realize I had. So even when it started to go away, it was just mildly going away. So within 2 weeks, I had my device, and I remember it was April 15th, which was tax day. That weekend, that was a Monday, that weekend we were going to Las Vegas for a long weekend for a little vacation. And typically when we go to Las Vegas, I walk around a whole lot more than I walk around here. And by the time I come back home, I can barely walk for 3 or 4 days. My thighs are locked up like crazy, but I had none of that. That was interesting. So I continued to use the device, and as I'm using it, within 2 to 3 weeks, I noticed my balance, which was really getting bad the last 2 or 3 years. I noticed that especially the side-to-side movement, because of my foot problems, I tend to stumble when I get fatigued because my muscles are weak to lift my foot. So I get a virtual foot drop. That I'm used to. I've been doing that for 70 years. You know, the side-to-side balance the last couple of years, just a little bit of movement, I'm all balanced this way, and I feel like I'm staggering. It's embarrassing working, thinking people think I'm drunk. And within 3 weeks, probably 2, my balance was, and still remains, much, much better. So that was really the biggest benefit
Wow.
that I've gotten so far. There were some additional benefits. My skin, when I was in Las Vegas, I have age spots. I'm an old guy. And I was putting sun lotion on my skin, and I noticed my age spots on the back of my hand. And I thought, that's my dad's hand. My dad had really dark age spots. So I'm thinking, so 2 or 3 weeks into using the machine, I'm thinking, my age spots are fading. And it's like, nah, it's my imagination.
Yeah.
So I keep, nah, it's my imagination. So one day I'm putting on a pair of shorts, and my lower legs, which tend to be dry, flaky skin, weren't dry and flaky. So my skin is changing. It is smoother and silkier. So I've had changes in my skin, my sinuses. Generally in the spring, I have this post-nasal drip down, and got to clear my throat. It's really bad some days, and it's at least 3/4 better.
Wow.
So
interesting.
So in the last few weeks, I feel like I'm mentally more sharp. It's kind of hard to really gauge, but I'm not good with numbers. I don't pay attention to numbers. My wife asked me, what did I pay for something? It's like, I pay what they ask, you know. Well, you know, I don't remember prices. It's not a big deal. It's either I get it or I don't. But she asked about a number the other day, and it's like, boom, right there on top of my head.
Interesting.
And there was a couple other instances like, I think I'm getting a little sharper, or returning to some sharpness.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, when I'm on the device, I tend to meditate, and that meditation seems a lot deeper. So,
Yes.
And the side benefit is my wife, who's also been using the device, seems to be nicer to me. She realizes she's not as anxious
She can hear this. Yeah.
as she was before. She's not worrying as much and sleeping deeper because of it. And she's also had some aches and pains that have been chronic that have gone away. So, so that's my experience with the device. And for me to respond to something, I have a fairly stable physiology. I don't have when I take vitamins, I don't notice any difference. When I get off the vitamins, I don't notice difference. So I don't really have a big response to things. And for me to have an immediate response is remarkable. And to have continued response is remarkable. So.
Interesting. So you've shared this with some patients.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Have you have any comments to share about that? Or I know we talked a little bit about how testimonials, can't always put a lot of weight in testimonials, right? Because everybody is so different. So I'm curious about that. Or perhaps you'd like to share your theories on why this works so well and how, like if you're explaining it to someone, we talked about the cellular health and how that's so important. So, right.
So basically, with my patients so far, a couple of the neuropathy patients have noticed an improvement within a short time. And going back to what I know now, I was blaming my lack of balance on post-polio effects. Post-polio effects are when people recover from polio, other muscles and nerves take over. And then, so that a lot of times back in the day, people got out of their wheelchairs and their braces and crutches and all that stuff, but after 20 or 30 years, they go back to their wheelchairs and braces and things like that because the muscles and nerves that compensated for the injury of the nervous system in their polio wear out. A natural aging, actually accelerated aging process. And so the system becomes weakened again, and that is post-polio symptoms. So I was writing the lack of balance off to post-polio, where it may have actually been symptoms of neuropathy. There's a doctor in St. George, Utah, that has a neuropathy practice where he uses a PEMF-like device and a special supplement, and he's getting an 82% result, which medically they don't have a lot of good treatment for neuropathy.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So my neuropathy patients seem to be getting responsive to this. And I would put my own self in that category at this point. So that's one area of potential benefit for the PEMF. Now, of course, historically, the PEMF has been used by NASA in the 70s for astronauts in zero gravity. Returning from zero gravity, they have loss of bone density and tendon strength, and they use PEMF to treat that back in the 70s. So that's a historical reference to ligamentous structural actual benefit.
I have another question about the neuropathy, just to add a little bit to that in case people don't know what that is. We're talking about, that's a name for, or a diagnosis for symptoms in the feet where it feels like numbness or tingling, or you don't really feel your feet so well. And there are a lot of people, or a lot of diabetes is one reason that can happen. Also chemotherapy use, like you mentioned your polio stuff.
Right.
Any other, anything else to add to that for people to understand? And also I'm curious how long it's taking the patients to feel a difference. I have a couple people, and it takes a while, and everybody's different. We'll get into this in a minute, but yeah.
It's relatively short time, within a few sessions. Going back to neuropathy, actually Dr. Jeff Norman, who's the doctor in St. George, Utah, really says the symptoms of neuropathy are not limited to the feet. Any parts of your nervous system actually can be subject to neuropathy. And the neuropathy can extend to pain, spasms, weakness, lack of strength. There's a plethora of symptoms associated with it. And it can happen anywhere in your body. Sexual dysfunction can be neuropathy. So there's a lot of aspects of neuropathy that, unfortunately, the general orientation to the term is limited to the legs and feet, but it can actually be anywhere in your body. It's a demyelization of the nerve. So the nerves have myelin sheaths around them, and that helps. So if a nerve is here, imagine a little bubble.
Like an insulated
fat.
Foam almost around a pipe, like I like to use.
Yeah, notice, so you'd have one here, and they're nodes, so that's like one's here, one's here, one's here, and it allows the nerve to transfer, so it's the electrical transmission of the nerve down the nerve, that happens in unmyelinated nerves, but myelinated nerves, the actual transmission hops, which makes it much more efficient.
Yeah.
And what happens is we have degeneration of the myelin sheath, and so the nerve becomes less functional, slower, and basic aging. Yeah. So that brings us to our next topic, which is cellular aging process. In the last few years, I've been going to a conference which has been focused largely on anti-aging. And a lot of the information comes out of the anti-aging community. And it's talking about cellular senescence, or aging of the cell. Now, these cells of our body go through a natural aging process, and each cell has a different cycle of aging process. So your skin cells and your gut cells age out very quickly. Your bone cells are a lot slower. And it's true that you have a whole new body within 7 years. So the cellular senescence is a natural process. Your cells are supposed to die. So what happens a lot because of lifestyle and other factors like diabetes, medications, trauma, and all kinds of other factors, the cells get injured or get toxic. A lot of them from lifestyle. I hate to say this because I'm one of the less disciplined people you want to meet. So In other words, my lifestyle isn't perfect. But anyway, so the cells start to slow down and don't really die, but they become dysfunctional. And this dysfunctional cell doesn't really die, and it becomes really literally called a zombie cell. That's what they call them. They're zombie cells. And these zombie cells are not dead, but they're not functional. And just like in the movies, these zombie cells attack surrounding healthy cells, turning them into zombie cells. So you have a bunch of dysfunctional cells, aren't dead, they're supposed to be, and they start affecting the healthy tissue. And this turns into tissue fibrosis. Fibrosis is basically scarring. It's a hardening of the tissues. And of course, these tissues can affect organs. So if it's organ tissue, it becomes harder, less functional. And
fascia, you gotta throw the fascia in there because we talk about the fascia gets solidified and dehydrated.
So all this stuff is really a drying up of the tissue, and that's really the aging process. The aging process is drying up of the tissue, and you have an accelerated drying up process if you have dysfunctional cellular function.
I like to think of it as solidification of cells.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it's the fibrosis. Yeah, that's the solidification. So this weakened cell, it can progress into pathological conditions, cancers and autoimmune diseases and all kinds of different disorders. So on the cellular level, and I hesitate to tell patients and people what the potential benefit of this device is, because I don't want to give them false hope.
Right.
But what it does do is energize the cells. It gives your cells a boost of energy, electrical energy. We forget that we're electrical. We have an electrical system. We have an electrical system on our skin. It's called galvanic skin sensation, and that's what's used in lie detectors. We can measure the electricity in our skin.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so this electrical nature of our body, we even can produce light in microcellular tissue. They're called photons. You actually have light being produced inside of you. So we are actually electrical beings, and our cells thrive on this electricity. And with stress and everyday living, and it's a constant stress to the body. Just living life on this planet with gravity and trauma and all the things, we're being compressed, we're being beaten down in many, many different ways. So this is energizing the cells on the cellular level, and with that we're increasing mitochondrial production, we're increasing stem cell differentiation, so that's going to help those zombie cells die off. It's going to actually allow the cells to complete a natural life cycle so that we can get a healthy regeneration of all these cells.
Well, I would imagine fewer zombie cells in general.
Well, that as well. Yeah, absolutely.
And so it reminds me of, because talking about our bodies being electrical, and the earth, of course, being like a giant magnet. And we used to walk on the earth with our bare feet. We used to be closer to the earth than we are now, and how that whole idea of grounding from the earth and being energized, and we're hearing more about this now. But I know I definitely have noticed a difference with that when I started really learning more about that a few years back. And you'll hear about it more now. Get outside, get in your bare feet, get on the planet, really feel that. But this is like doing that, only way more amplified. How would you do anything to comment about that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, absolutely, that grounding effect is very important. And this is what this device does. It allows that grounding effect, that the magnetic force of the earth is matched in our brain. The same frequency in our brain is matched with the frequency of the earth. And it's that connection, but because our system is so clogged and deficient in energy, we don't get the full benefit of just standing in our bare feet. So this is a increased amplification of delivering that to our bodies. So we're amplifying that delivery system to our bodies so that we become healthier and healthier. I was giving the illustration the other day that we can do all kinds of things to make ourselves look better on the outside and feel better in some ways. But if we don't address, so like it's kind of like remodeling your house. You can do all kinds of things on the surface, but if you don't take care of the plumbing and electrical, you have a crappy foundation. And that's what the cells are so important, and sometimes they've forgotten about. about how important they are, that's really where our health begins on the level of the cells. And this is feeding the cells. Just like you take a supplement to feed a certain organ or part of your body, this is feeding the cells. And your body needs that nutrient, that electrical nutrient to the cell for it to function better. In the nervous system, we have all this these ion channels, these gates that allow certain enzymatic transactions to help within the body. So nutritionally, you need enzymes to help different nutrients to really function better. It acts as a conduit, this electrical energy, and nutrition is actually energy, but it has to have a good foundation to function in.
I like to also talk about how does this actually work? This is the question that I get. We've talked about PEMF and terahertz and this whole energy and frequency thing, but just to really simplify it for people, I talk about the meridians in the body, and we know that the PEMF and terahertz works through the microtubules and the fluids of the body. We know we're mostly water and all of that. So people typically have a basic understanding of meridians, right? They know that these are channels that go through the body. So when you put your feet on this device, and everyone has a different sensation of what they feel, I find.
Right.
You know, I put this on I put my feet on there right away at level 1. It's a device we're talking about has 10 levels on it, and I could feel this frequency happening then. But not everyone feels that, and that's okay, because we're all unique. And I talk about this with fascia. We all have, however many people there are in the world, there are that many different fascial patterns and just, how our bodies are put together with where our restrictions are and so on. So we all are going to feel it differently, I find. And then the question I often get is, well, when do we do this? How do we do this? And the device is set up to be used a total of 60 minutes a day. Tell people twice a day, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening, or you can break that up, because I've done that multiple times. I don't often have 30 minutes to sit there, right?
So you're much more generous than I am.
But I can split it up in different things. But let's talk about that a little bit, and different ways that you've helped your patients use this, or how do you use it, and let's just kind of give some ideas about how and why.
Well, first of all, this can be a very powerful device. Again, I'm going back to my initial impression. I wasn't really impressed with it initially, but I'm very impressed with it now. So it can be a very powerful device. It can actually move people into detoxification and have a reaction.
Yeah, not such a good reaction either.
Right,
and we want to try to prevent that.
Well, I mean, it's ultimately a good thing.
It is a good thing.
But it's not so good to go through.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
I overdid it one night.
Tell us about that.
I do it 15 minutes twice a day.
Okay.
So there are 10 settings in the device. The lower 3 settings are primarily PEMF, which is a more calmative energy. It's working on your parasympathetic nervous system, rest and repair. So it's a more calmative energy.
So lower levels, like I'll do level 1.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, before,
primarily
at nighttime.
PEMF.
Yeah, PEMF, and then
8, 9, and 10 are more terahertz dominant, which is a stronger energy. It's kidney meridians, the fire element of acupuncture. So it's more energetic. And sometimes we need energetic. So I do a stronger treatment in the morning, but I say around 6 or 7. And this is just an intuitive thing. And in the evening, I'll do like a level 2 usually for 15 minutes. But I only do 15 minutes twice a day.
Okay.
And I want people to work into that. Some sensitive people, and I've learned my lesson. You got to start low and slow. And it may be level 1 or 2 for 8 minutes, 7, 8 minutes. And gradually work up, seeing how you can handle it. So unfortunately, my very good friend, who I wanted this to work for, he's developing Parkinson's. And I took it to have him try it. And I ignored my own advice. And because he's a former athlete, he's kind of a rugged little guy. I put him on level 8, and the next day his hip is killing him, his wrist is killing him, he's all turned off by it.
Yeah, it's sore.
And the one person I wanted to have a good experience, it was him.
Yeah.
And his son got a treatment after him, and his son, who's much bigger physically, I started out on level 2, and he was like feeling all kinds of tingling. He's feeling his big toe was jumping around on the plate,
Wow.
twitching, and he could only take 6 minutes. That was too much stimulation for him. I had a friend try it the other day on level 2. We started on level 2, and he could immediately sense something going on, tingling all over. We tried going up to level 5, and it was like too much for him. So it's something you have to tell, and you never know who it's going to be.
Exactly.
But you have to suspect people who are lower in physical energy, people with a lot of conditions going on, should definitely start low and slow.
Yeah, I think everyone really should. We just don't know, so we've been offering, a couple of sessions just for free here to kind of give it a try. Let's try a level 1. And some people, though, they want to dive right in. Let's do the whole 30. And I have had people do a full 30 minutes even with a higher level, and they're fine. And they feel like, oh my goodness, my knee pain that I had is gone. I've seen that. Also, level 1, maybe for even less than that, and they'll report back, wow, I slept better than I've slept in ages. That's another big one that I hear a lot of people have sleeping improvement, which is good. And as far as that lower levels of the machine, the device, you said 1 to 3 being more PEMF, it's very calming. And that's what I've noticed when I have patients come in and do the machine before their MFR session, and their body feels different to me. There is, I guess you could call it a calmness, but it's a little bit softer, and I just feel like the energy flow is different through the body. Definitely can see that. I know for the first time that I did it, I plowed in there, at first low for like the first few minutes. I gotta try this out, So I put it up to level 10. It's like, whoo, after a few minutes.
You type A's always.
I know, right? So, but it was intense, but it felt good. I could feel it all the way through my body. And even now, what I'll do earlier in the day, I'll do higher levels, even up to 10. But if I start getting a lot of heat building in my body, and I just intuitively, I like that you said that, just kind of like, I think that I'm going to bring this down a little bit. And I'll often do that for a shorter period of time, do a higher level for a shorter period of time. But I do feel like it's energizing. And I'm the same way. I'm not exactly a slow responder, but I don't know, maybe I don't notice things quite so much either. But what I've noticed is that I definitely have more endurance and and more strength and more of a, I can handle this kind of a thing. In fact, I recently hadn't really been trained to do triathlon, and I just decided on the 4th of July, I have some time, I'm going to try to do all these activities. I felt really good. It was crazy. But I'm going to go ahead and sign up for the next triathlon, which was a couple weeks ago, and it was fun, and I was kind of blown away because I don't think I could have done it without having had this treatment that I've been having for about 4 months now. Most days of the week, I get at least a partial session in. I'm pretty busy, so sometimes I skip a day. But it's definitely made a difference in energy, I would say.
Well, also I've noticed my strength and my endurance is better. I wouldn't have said my endurance was bad. I work 11 hours a day when I work, and previous to the device, there was a few days when I couldn't wait to get home and get my shoes off, but generally not real urgent. But since the device, I noticed at the end of the day, I feel like I can go for another couple hours. So definitely strength and endurance has improved. Subtle changes to some degree. Again, it is a device that is unique in my experience. It's there's no set rules for it.
Yeah, that's what I think makes it hard for people.
Yeah, and so it really is, I think I've used this as a cellular tonic. A tonic is a substance that helps lift the body's energies up. So there's herbal tonics, there's all kinds of tonics. This is a cellular electrical tonic. So in my practice, I really use the body's nervous system or its electrical system to help itself communicate better. So the more energy you have in the system, the cells it's key for cellular communication. So this communication, we're getting more clear communication within the body works better. And you have to think of it as like taking a vitamin. You're actually taking nutrients to the cells, electrical nutrients to the cells. On Facebook lately, I've seen a couple posts where people have gone off the machine for a couple weeks or whatever, and their pain comes back. And again, pain is just a symptom, but you do need to feed the system because our body's constantly under stress.
Yeah.
Constantly under stress.
And not to mention all the other energetic and electrical things bombarding our society now.
Exactly.
You know, it's just so much more with all of the cell phones and technology that we have. I like to think of it as it's like you're plugging your body into a supercharger, you know, like you have
it is.
Yeah, and it's something that you'd want to do regularly.
Right.
So this device is designed with that in mind, to be able to have at home at a fairly reasonable price point as well.
It's a very, very reasonable price point for the type of device it is, and it can be shared throughout the family. It's not like one thing for one person.
Right.
Like getting a vitamin for one person, not everybody can take that vitamin.
Right.
You know, it's not going to benefit them. This is going to benefit almost everybody in the family. Again, this is a device that's going to be feeding your system, giving your system an uplift, a defense against the stress that's going on around it.
And in a way, fighting the whole aging process, because it's promoting all of these things that we are lacking kind of in our society too, this lack of being away from the earth and the rejuvenation and all of that.
Right.
So something that you want to use regularly. I have actually had patients though using it once a week and seeing a difference, which is really cool too.
You can use it. It doesn't have to be daily to get results. A lot of people use it periodically. Again, a lot of my patients only use it once a week or two. They're trying it out, and many of my patients have bought them, finding them valuable. You know, and so you can see some changes using it on an infrequent basis. But the more regularly you use it, the more benefit it is to the system.
Yeah.
And there's very few conditions or very few people that aren't able to use it.
Right. I've even started, my mother actually needed to start at a very, very low, well, she started at level 1. Even 5 minutes was a little much because of the detoxification she was getting. So we had her at 1 to 2 minutes every, like only twice a week. And so now she's doing 10 minutes. So it's using the body's own devices to heal itself. I like to think of it that way too.
Exactly.
It's like, and she's improving along with that. So I'm excited to see what happens with that as she continue to get better.
Going back to the thought of nutrition and feeding the body, especially as you age, your digestive system starts to be less and less efficient. So you can take a lot of good nutrients and not get the benefits of them because of your diminished digestive powers. And a lot of that, again, has to do with enzymes not being present. And a lot of cofactors and things like that, and the cells not having the energy to break down these nutrients. So if you're going to give the cells electrical energy, that increases the utilization of all your nutrients, and even making medications more effective. It increases the efficiency of the body.
Yeah.
So with my energetic treatment I use for patients, a lot of them, because it helps their physiology be more efficient, they function on less nutritional supplements. Nutritional supplements become more effective because we have the physiology a little more balanced so they can use it more efficiently.
Yeah.
So this is going to help the efficiency in the body in a number of different ways. And again, I haven't been impressed by much in 40 years.
And here we are talking about this because
Right.
I also am very impressed. I mean, so just to recap as we close this up, we're talking about this PEMF frequency, the terahertz frequency, and a very easy to use device where you can just sit there. Even heck, I've had my dinner while I have my feet on that. We're talking about boosting the body overall, but at a cellular level.
Absolutely.
And getting rid of these zombie cells you talk about and minimizing them and promoting the body's ability to heal itself.
Oh, absolutely.
And to stay younger. It's all of this, the oxidation that we have and these cells that you're speaking of, the unhealthy environment in which we live and eat or whatever it is every day. Right. And I'm just super excited about this. I know the first time I used it, I'm like, wow, when you can feel something like that and then experience the benefits and see it in other people. So I've been having lots of my patients try it just to kind of see what happens. And
absolutely.